I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
The first blockbuster trade of the year has gone down, and it's between 4 teams: the Houston Rockets, Atlanta Hawks, Denver Nuggets, and Minnesota Timberwolves. Literally yesterday, I made a video on why the Rockets should not trade Capella, but clearly they didn't listen as they've gone and done it. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing the trade in general, who I think won and lost, and going into depth about what it means for each team. Before we start, yes, I am a Houston Rockets fan, but I will be trying to stay as unbiased as possible in this video. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. But with that being said, let's talk about this crazy blockbuster trade.
Lucas.
Okay, so let's get into the trade first. This is what it looks like. The Hawks get Clint Capella and Nene, the Rockets get Robert Covington and Jordan Bell, as well as a second round pick. The Minnesota Timberwolves get Evan Turner, Malik Beasley, Juwan Hernan-Gomez, Jared Vanderbilt, and a first round pick. And finally, the Nuggets receive Gerald Green, Keita Bates-Diop, Shabazz Napier, Noah Vonleh, and the Houston Rockets 2020 first round pick. On the surface, this looks like a decent trade for most of the teams here, and does make sense for most of them, but there are a couple of iffy moves in here. But first, I'm going to talk about who I think won the trade, in my opinion. The first team I think won the trade are the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks barely gave up anything in this deal, and by acquiring the main centerpiece in this deal, Clint Capella, they win it to me. Trae Young is finally getting some more help, and it's going to be extremely fun to see the duo of Trae Young and Capella play together, especially in the pick and roll. That's an exciting prospect to me. Obviously, Capella won't impact the Hawks hugely this season, but it's a step in the right direction for this team's future, and it will be interesting to see how they play out for the rest of the season. Nene will be a good mentor as well for the Hawks' young team, and has been a solid contributor off the bench for many teams throughout his career. Overall, I really like this deal for Atlanta, and I think it will be beneficial for them long term. The next team I think did a good job in this trade is the Denver Nuggets. As I mentioned earlier, the Nuggets received quite a lot of pieces in Gerald Green, Bates-Diop, Shabazz Napier, and Noah Vonleh. By getting these players, the Nuggets solidify their bench even further and make it even deeper than before, and it was already one of the best benches in the entire league. Also, an underrated part of this deal for them is securing that first round pick from Houston. That's a big finesse to me, so Nuggets fans should be extremely happy with that. The Nuggets lost Juwan Hernan-Gomez and Malik Beasley in this deal, but they weren't getting the court time they arguably deserved, and let's be real, didn't exactly have the brightest future on the team. Overall, this was a generally good move for Denver. Nothing too crazy went down, but I think they pulled off a win today. The next team I want to talk about is the Minnesota Timberwolves. If I'm being honest, I don't really know if they have won this trade yet, nor know if they have lost it. They did get some decent pieces from Denver and some nice picks, but it's hard to tell right now if it was worth it. I don't think this makes them better than what they were, and I think time will be the biggest teller of how well they did in this trade. Obviously, the main goal for them this trade deadline is getting D'Angelo Russell, so who knows if this will help them in that way, but overall, I'm not 100% sure if they win or lose this trade right now. And for the biggest losers, and the only losers in this trade, I have my own team, the Houston Rockets. This deal makes literally no sense to me from Houston's perspective. I'm not going to cover why we needed to keep Capella, I did that in my last video, so go check that out if you haven't yet, but here are my thoughts on the trade for Houston. Getting Robert Covington isn't terrible at all, but the fact we gave up Capella, Nene, Gerald Green, who I actually think is really solid, and our first round pick is just terrible. Imagine this trade if it only went two ways between Minnesota and the Houston Rockets. The Rockets gave up all of that for Robert Covington and Jordan Bell, who hasn't been a relevant player since his rookie season in Golden State. That just makes no sense to me. We gave up way too much for what we got back. What's worse is that Bell is an undersized big man, so basically the Rockets have given up on rebounding the ball and playing defense near the rim as well. Our starting five has an average height of 6'4". Our tallest player in that starting five is Robert Covington at 6'7", and our center is goddamn PJ Tucker, who stands at 6'5". What are we doing here? I'm just confused by this trade overall, and again, it makes no sense to me. All I'm saying is we better have another trade planned, because this is very worrying if the Rockets don't make any more moves. If this is the lineup we have going into the playoffs, we are going to get smoked. I am extremely confident in saying that. When this trade first went down, I wasn't too pessimistic because I thought the Rockets could maybe flip a guy like Eric Gordon for a good center, like Tristan Thompson. But due to Gordon's contract, it's not possible to trade him this deadline, which makes things even more confusing. I have no idea who the Rockets would trade away for a guy like Thompson now, and I don't think a team like Cleveland would want, say, Austin Rivers back for him, unless they are just as dumb as us. The only positive I see out of this situation is the extra minutes Isaiah Hartenstein should get now, but who knows if he even will get them, knowing Mike D'Antoni. This trade also makes me question the Rockets' plan for the future. Is this it? Is this the last year the Rockets compete before blowing everything up? That's what I'm starting to get a sense of right now. It's go hard or go home right now for Houston, and I have a bad feeling it may backfire on us. Overall for the Rockets though, I'm not a fan of this trade at all. Robert Covington is nice, but he's not worth what we gave up. In doing this trade, the Rockets have not only given up some players, but they've also given up rebounding and rim protection. The Rockets better have another trade in mind, because unfortunately, if this is the roster we have going into the playoffs, it's just not going to cut it. So overall, these are my initial thoughts on the trade. The Hawks won because they received a great center to go along with Trae Young and Clint Capella, and didn't really have to give an insane amount up for him. Denver also win because a lot of the guys they got back will help strengthen their already solid bench even further. I'm not 100% sure on Minnesota right now, but I think it will turn out to be a win for them. But for the Rockets, they have taken a massive L today, and unless they make some more moves before the trade deadline ends, they're probably going to end up being the biggest losers of the 2020 NBA trade deadline. But that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? Who won the trade to you and who lost? Do you agree with me, or do you think the Rockets made a good trade? Let me know all your thoughts on this down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.